Hello everyone, this is Carlos Monteiro. I'm the founder of DenmarkBrazil.com and Biassa. And today we are here at Berrini Avenue at the DSV headquarters in Brazil. And I'm going to have the honor to interview Mikael Thomsen, the director for DSV Brazil. Mikael will be sharing with us all his ground knowledge in terms of transportation and logistics in Brazil, and how has DSV started in Brazilian market and what are their major challenges. And above all, what can DSV offer to their customers coming from the Nordic countries? So I hope you watch this interview. You can learn from this interview, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you very much, and I see you then. So Mikael, many thanks for having me here today. And this whole idea started with the roadshow I did with Philip back in October. And the idea here is we were talking about the emerging markets. And in this roadshow we talked a lot about Brazil, Latin America, but a lot of focus in Brazil. And when I do these interviews, this series of interviews, I like people to talk, to start, with the big picture. So please tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you very much for the opportunity as well. It's a pleasure for myself, but also for DSV in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Well, my name is Mikael Thomsen. I'm the managing director for DSV here in Brazil. I've been with the company for now 14 years. I started in the industry in Denmark, working for a Taiwanese carrier. Yeah. And in 2001 joined DSV in Miami. Spent some 12 years for DSV in Miami and then moved to Brazil here in 2012.
And it would be very interesting if you could talk about why is DSV located in all these different places that DSV is located right now. I mean, you have 6 branches in Brazil today. Can you share some information and some knowledge with us about it?
No, but I mean, Brazil is of course a massive country. It's one of the biggest economies of the world, and it's a very diverse country as well. So I mean, doing business in Sao Paulo is very different than doing business in Rio and in Santa Catarina or in Porto Alegre. So we have a strategy of being close to our clients, and we feel that we can better develop relationships, but also business if we are close to the markets where we're in. So today we have offices here in Sao Paulo, which is our national headquarters, if you will. Then we're in Santos, which is more port operation office. We're in Rio and Campinas, Curitiba, Porto Alegre.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that drew my attention is the fact that you're located in the south and east coast of Brazil, right? And why is that? Is it because the industry of Brazil is located in these places? Is it because we have there's more wealth? Why is that?
Yeah, I mean the biggest part of the economy in Brazil is really in the south and the southeast. The northeast is definitely the developing market, if you will. But I would say still 80%. If you're in the south and the southeast of Brazil, then you're basically covering 80% of the economy, if you will.
Absolutely.
So for us, it's been very important to expand to the south, and then now we're taking a little bit of a breather with the expansion, and then I mean eventually we want to of course get a piece of the pie of the northeast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time I go to a meeting now, it's funny because Brazil is portrayed as a very corrupt country in Denmark. I hear a lot of stuff, and I'm confronted against these questions, and I have to be giving explanations all the time. But I also see an opportunity for DSV here to so you can tell us how DSV is positioned in the Brazilian market and how solid is your structure. So you can also let other people know that Petrobras doesn't represent Brazil as a whole, right? I think there are a lot of opportunities for us here to talk about what is going on in Brazil.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of negative things in the media these days about Brazil. I mean, it could be the politicians, the corruption scandals, the water shortage. I mean, for us, we've not really been affected by any of it. We run a very clean show, if you will. We have very tight CSR policies. We have code of conducts. All of our employees need to study it, understand it, take a test to make sure that we do things in a clean and proper manner. We are a public company traded on the stock exchange, so we want to make sure that we do things in a right and a responsible way, both towards the environment, but also, of course, when it comes to anti-corruption and these things like that. So we've not had any issues whatsoever doing business in Brazil by being with the way we do our code of conduct, if you will.
Well, now I would like you to talk about the production costs and salaries in Brazil. This is extremely important for those decision makers, considering to start their venture in Brazil. Why? Recently, I've been doing. I'm bringing a company to Brazil in technology sector. And I was doing some salary calculations, and I showed to the decision maker in Denmark that a salary net, an employee that is going to earn $2,400 will end up costing nearly $5,000 for the company. So could you comment a bit about it? How does it work in Brazil? Could you share a bit of knowledge about it?
Yeah, well, we started basically. I mean, PJ, as you know, and we moved, traveled here to Brazil, stayed a few weeks, had meetings with lawyers and so forth, and that was one of the big eye openers for us. And all the advisors we've been speaking with said, you either double up or you use the factor 1.8. So, like you say, if you pay somebody 5,000, it's basically costing the company 10,000. Social taxes, pensions. Lunch money, whatever you can come up with there.
And how about the labor law in Brazil? Because the labor law, it's very much pro employee, and it's pretty much against the employer, as we have a legislation that is extremely old. And well, what is it that you feel? What are the challenges that you feel in regard to that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the law calls for that everybody needs to clock in and clock out. Yeah. So we have fingerprint scanners in all of our offices. So when people arrive in the morning, then they have to check in, and the same when they leave at night. And I mean, if they stay half an hour later, then basically we have to pay overtime. And we, of course, follow the law, so we pay the overtime. But I mean, it's also important. Very expensive, right? Yeah, I mean, I think the first 2 hours it's 1.5 over, and then after 2 hours it's 1.8 or 2. Okay. So it, of course, becomes extremely expensive. And one of the problems we've seen, especially here in Sao Paulo, is traffic is a complete nightmare. And a lot of people, they prefer to stay later in the office because if they leave at 5:30 sharp, then they're just going to spend 2 hours in traffic, whereas if they leave at 8, then they spend half an hour in traffic. Sure. So that's really a problem that we cannot really have people sitting here, because then we by law have to pay overtime. And people don't really necessarily want to leave at 5:30 because then they're gonna just be stuck in traffic. So
do you think the labor law in Brazil is becoming more flexible? I mean, the labor law in Brazil is known for being being extremely pro employee and extremely against the employer. So do you think the labor law is changing and is becoming more flexible, for example, having home offices and the like?
I think it's becoming a lot more common in Brazil. We see it with a lot of our clients. In our industry, however, it's very difficult to work from home because, I mean, there's a lot of interaction with your colleagues. There's a lot of paperwork involved. So, I mean, we don't work with home office, if you will. So people have to come into the office.
Well, as you know, I'm also the founder of a website called denmarkbrazil.com. And I have a list of emails, people that subscribe to my website. And I would like to open up a space for a Q&A session. So I have a few questions. And the first question is from a gentleman called Yen, and he asks about Yen Nikolai, and he asks about a price overview to load containers within port areas.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a little bit of a complex question, because it depends on which port we're talking about, which bonded area inside the port, and what the commodity is, because the price is very different from loading auto parts than it is to load coffee, for instance. Okay. So for that, I would probably need a little bit more information, but I would be happy to help your audience.
Jan Nikolai also made a second question, and his second question is about if DSV has a toolbox of policies to offer to prospective customers or customers. Do you have something like that?
Yeah, well, we have created basically an SOP to our clients overseas, what to be on the lookout for when exporting to Brazil. There's a lot of small things that are super important for customs here. I mean, for instance, where all commercial invoices to Brazil has to be signed, and it has to be signed in blue ink. So, I mean, if it comes signed in black ink, then you have a problem. Right. And then basically you need to get new documents sent over while your cargo is accumulating storage charges and this and that. So it's small things like that. You need to make sure that you have your NCN number on all the documents. So it's things like that. I mean, the importer needs to have their CNPJ number listed also on the documents.
The weight has to be in kilos, right?
Weight has to be in kilos. So I mean, there's a lot of small things that you have to be on the lookout for, and if you miss any of those small details, then you can get royally burnt, basically, you know. So
wasting a lot of time, no?
Wasting a lot of time and spending a lot of money in storage. I mean, overseas, and myself was very surprised when I first came here how much storage charges you pay at the ports, but also at the bonded warehouses, for instance, in Santos. So I mean, you don't want to have your cargo sitting in those zones for more than that they have to. Because basically your entire margin can go up in smoke there. Yeah,
and his last question is about, he wants to know how it works, the payment of services from Danish accounts to Brazilian accounts.
Very difficult to receive money in foreign currency here. Of course you can do international transfers and so forth, but you have to have backup on everything.
So you're saying, my understanding is, so if you need to receive the money in local currency, therefore, this partner, this person, this company that's selling to you will probably need either a partner in Brazil, like a distributor, or to be in Brazil, like to have a legal entity, because then you need
or a trading company, but would also be quite expensive to use the trading companies.
So you're back to that question on how you set up the DSV in Brazil and all the hassle that it was.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, I mean, for instance, I know Pandora, which is a client of ours, and I saw the interview you did with Rachel there, and I mean, they started basically through a trading company, their import processes, but we have now, together with them, managed to get them a Hadar, and we're now helping them with their imports and also the customs clearances.
That's great.
Because, I mean, can you cut out the trading company? I mean, you can cut out a lot of costs as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. They make a lot of money just by being a middleman, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're the middlemen, but with the licenses and all that. So I mean, they take a good chunk of your money because of that.
And now we have the last question, and her name is Luciana Vale, and she would like to know about the major logistic challenges to operate in Brazilian soil. What are the major logistic challenges that DSV has to operate in Brazilian soil? Yeah,
I mean, the way DSV operates, we're non-asset or asset light company, so we don't own any trucks, we don't have any airplanes, even though, well, we have this one here, I guess you can say, but we basically subcontract the services to carriers. It could be to ocean carriers like Maersk or airlines like Lufthansa, so we don't really get affected a lot by the infrastructure problems you have in Brazil. I mean, the ports are not the most efficient, I would say. They're quite congested, you see as well. The road network, I would say here in the state of Sao Paulo is quite good, but if you get out of Sao Paulo, it's really not the best road network. And yeah, the same with the trucking network. I mean, in Europe, in the US, you have what you would call LTL carriers. You can buy a little space in a truck for your little pallet, and then you only pay for that. Whereas in Brazil, it's still very much a dedicated truck market. So if you have to do a delivery or you have to do a pickup of could be a small piece of freight, 100 kilos, then you have to send basically an exclusive truck, and you pay for the entire truck. So just to pick up small pieces of freight can turn out to be very expensive.
Michael, it's been great. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, so insightful, and I'm sure we're giving a lot of knowledge, valuable knowledge for.
Yeah, and I mean for your audience, I mean any questions they have, I'm sure you're gonna put our email on there as well. I mean, we're always willing to support and help.
Do you have now an email that I could direct them to, or when?
Yeah, basically, I mean, we have our info email, so it's info@br.dsv.com.
Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado.
De nada. Tak for det.
No, thank you very much.
Sure.